Hi guys, George Eustice, the former Secretary of State for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, also a former member of UKIP, stood up in the House of Commons on Monday and trashed the UK-Australia trade deal. Remember, Brexiteers had pushed for a series of trade deals following the UK's exit from the EU. An attempt to keep both backbenchers and voters convinced Brexit was a good idea and that quote-unquote independent Britain could go it alone and sign better trade deals with countries around the world. I've said on a number of occasions that the Brexiteer government was not interested in putting in either the time or the effort to achieve something reasonable with other nations. They lacked the skilled professionals and the clout on the world stage too. But here we have George Eustice claiming that now that he's a backbencher, he can tell the truth about the disaster that the deal is. Have a listen.
Now, the current Secretary of State at DIT obviously had no role in these particular discussions, although my honourable friend did and will recall some of the discussions that took place. But the Secretary of State was not in the Cabinet at the time, nor in any of the Cabinet committees, and the Minister today has defended, obviously, the position that was taken at the time. My position is obviously slightly different. I was in the Cabinet in 2021, and I was in this Cabinet subcommittee that argued over the Australian trade deal. For yes, there were deep arguments and differences over how we should approach this. But since I now enjoy the freedom of the backbenches, I no longer have to put such a positive gloss on what was agreed. And I hope that my honourable friend will understand my reason for doing this. And that is that unless we recognise the failures that the Department for International Trade made during the Australia negotiations, we won't be able to learn the lessons of future negotiations. And there are critical negotiations underway right now, notably on CPTPP and on Canada, and it is essential that the Department for International Trade does not repeat the mistakes it made. And so the first step is to recognise that the Australia trade deal is not actually a very good deal for the UK. It wasn't for lack of trying on my part. Indeed, as my old friend pointed out, there were things that we achieved, a special agricultural safeguard for years 10 to 15, staged liberalisation across the first decade, the protection of British sovereignty in SPS issues. It's no surprise that many of these areas were areas negotiated either exclusively or predominantly by DEFRA on behalf of the UK team. But it has to be said that overall, the truth of the matter is that the UK gave away far too much for far too little in return.
The UK gave away far too much for far too little in return. Now, at no stage did he complain about this. At no stage did he say this was a bad trade deal. He's only saying it now. Why? Because he's a backbencher. And he even said it himself, because he doesn't have to put a positive gloss on it. The dishonesty here. This is affecting farmers who believed in him. He'd sold them this Brexit. You can find clips online of him back in 2016 campaigning for Brexit, saying to farmers, it's going to be wonderful for you. Once we get out of the EU, it's going to be great. We're going to be able to sign trade deals with countries around the world. It'll be much better. You won't have to follow these ridiculous EU rules, and you're going to be much better off, much richer, and we're going to be able to protect the environment to a much higher standard. All a piece of crap. And he knew it. He knew it when he was sitting in those select committees. He knew it when he was standing up in the House of Commons as the Secretary of State. I don't know how to respond to this. You have a politician who is in a very senior position, who obviously lied to the public and is now admitting that he lied about it, because he's saying here a positive gloss. He's no longer putting a positive gloss on it. That means that he knew he was exaggerating the benefits. Now, of course, what are the benefits? Well, there are pretty much no benefits for UK farmers. There are benefits for, in most of these cases, as always, other countries when it comes to Brexit. There are benefits for Australian farmers, New Zealand farmers, but there are no benefits for UK farmers. Now, in this debate, he goes on to complain about how UK farmers are going to be affected by this, but it's too little too late. You supported this. You stood up in the House of Commons and defended these trade deals. And now you're coming out and being honest about it. Well, honesty is too late now. Many businesses and farmers are going to go out of business because of these trade deals. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.